13.10 is the biggest patch of Season 13, with a plethora of item alterations and brand new items being introduced. With that said, the solo carry list should be constantly evolving over the next few patches as optimal builds surface and new champions emerge, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. As with each solo carry video, we will be breaking down 3 champions for every single role that hold some of the highest carry power for patch 13.10. And remember, if you want to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted, then go to SkillCapped.com. Stop wasting your time grinding thousands of games only to see no progress. With SkillCapped, you'll uncover the secrets to climbing ranks fast that only take a few minutes to learn and can be immediately applied in your next game. The best part? It's completely risk-free to try, as you're kept safe with our rank up insurance. If you don't significantly improve while actively using SkillCapped, then you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Get the rank you've always wanted by clicking the link in the description below. Alright, now back to the video. One top laner who has been on the rise in recent patches and should only become stronger for patch 13.10 is Ornn. Ornn is the all-around best tank top laner you can play right now, as his recent bug fix change a few patches back has been massive. There's one big change in 13.10 that will help a CC tank like Ornn more than most champs, and that is the buff to teleport. Unleashed teleport timer is being reduced from 14 to 10 minutes, and for someone like Ornn who has amazing lockdown, being able to influence bot lane earlier on will be great for him. To get the most out of Ornn, you want to be looking for hard engage plays with R when you have the numbers advantage. Ornn is one of the best champions in the game at starting fights himself, so keeping track of where the enemy team is on the map and capitalizing when they are split is key to winning with Ornn. Matchup wise for Ornn, there are 2 meta top laners who you can run into some issues against, being Mordekaiser and Fiora, so we would recommend banning one of them. Tank items really aren't being changed all that much for 13.10, so Ornn's build should stay pretty similar to where it was in previous patches, with Sunfire Aegis and Jaksho being the main core purchases. In regards to runes, it's Grasp with Demolish, Second Wind, and Overgrowth, followed by Freeboots and Biscuits. Back in a great spot for solo queue as a result of her 13.9 buffs and making her way into a solo carry slot is Kayle. The R change from last patch makes Kayle so much smoother to play and drastically increases her dueling power the longer games last. It's all about surviving early game with Kayle, being as consistent as you can with securing last hits to scale into that mid to late game. You really want to do your best at making sure you keep the wave on your side of the lane. Kayle is extremely vulnerable early on when pushed up in lane, especially if you're against a ghost top laner like Darius or Olaf. Wave control knowledge is quite important on someone like Kayle, and our Master in Minutes course on wave control is a really good resource to help you out if you're looking to improve on that. These strong early game high mobility top lane fighters are generally the most difficult for Kayle, so someone like Aurelia is a good ban option. Build paths are going to be really interesting for Kayle this patch because the new Rage Blade could have some great viability on Kayle. It's hard to say whether it will completely replace Riftmaker, but we can definitely see it being an option now in combination with Nashor's for a nasty 2-item spike. Who knows, we could even see a hybrid build with the new Kraken Slayer being a legendary item thrown in there as well. The possibilities will be limitless. Lethal Tempo and Fleet Footwork are both viable rune choices for Kayle depending on the matchup. Can't really go wrong with Lethal in all your games, but in more difficult matchups, Fleet can really help you out with more survivability. A top laner we see becoming even stronger for 13.10 and cracking the top 3 is Mordekaiser. With so many tanks coming back in a meta for top lane, it's opened the door for Mordekaiser to really shine as a premier top lane pick. Ornn had been the most played top laner throughout 13.9, and we expect that number to continue rising for 13.10, which is great news for Mordekaiser. Olaf or Fiora are 2 of the better bans for Mordekaiser, as they're 2 of his more difficult matchups. A very simple win condition to play towards on Mordekaiser is to only fight around your R cooldown. Mord with R available is 10 times the champion, and you can play so much more aggressive when it's up. The build for Mord consists of a Rylai's Rush into Jaksho's 2nd and Demonic Embrace 3rd, grab Conqueror for the Keystone with Triumph, Tenacity, and Last Stand. Best secondaries are Second Wind and Revitalize. As if Kha'Zix wasn't already broken, 13.10 is going to be a massive patch for him with the lethality item changes. The fact Ghostblade is now a mythic item and it's going to be a viable rush option, the snowball power of Ka has just shot up even more. Prowlers has been swapped to a legendary item and no longer has the active dash, while Duskblade passive is actually being nerfed as well, so rushing Ghostblade looks like it may be the way to go. It likely comes down to a battle between Eclipse and Ghostblade, with Eclipse being more optimal into more bruiser or tank comps, and Ghostblade the go-to when snowballing or against heavy squishies. As with many assassins, but even more so for Kha'Zix, playing around fog and finding isolated catch plays is how you're going to see most success with a champ. Playing straight up 5v5s is not where Ka thrives. You need to be in outskirts of a fight, looking to pick off enemies that are split from their team. There aren't a ton of meta junglers you have to worry about right now, but Rengar is never a bad ban option for Kha'Zix. Build for Kha'Zix is going to be all over the place in 13.10, with lots of experimenting to be done, but a core we could see being really good is Ghostblade Rush into Prowler's Claw 2nd and Edge of Night 3rd. Rune Page's first strike strike with Free Boots, Futures Market, and Cosmic Insight, followed by Sudden Impact and Treasure Hunter for secondaries. Relentless Hunter is an option as well in place of Treasure Hunter, but we think that if Ghostblade becomes a meta-first pickup, the move speed from Relentless Hunter is likely just overkill. A jungler that you need to be spamming right now if you're diamond and below for super easy elo is Amumu. Buffed last patch and back in an extremely powerful spot, Amumu is such a reliable jungle carry due to his strong catch power and teamfight. Amumu has the exact opposite win condition of Kha'Zix, as you want to be looking for 5v5s where the enemy team will be bunched up for you to hit those multi-man ults. Playing for objective control and catching the entire enemy team in a choke as they are forced to walk into Fog of War will have you winning games with ease as Amumu. Amumu has a more difficult time against fighters with a strong extended skirmish, so Kayn is a good ban option. The build for Amumu is a Demonic Embrace Rush into Jaksho second and a situational tank item third. You want to pick up Conqueror for the Keystone Rune with Triumph, Tenacity, and Last Stand. Optimal secondaries are Cheap Shot and Ultimate Hunter. This jungler should only become even more lethal in 13.10 with all the changes, and that champ is Jarvan. 13.10 will feature many buffs to ADC items, giving the role more power, which will make spam ganking bot even more effective. Who better to take advantage of this than one of the best early ganking junglers in Jarvan? If possible, you really want to be playing for the bot side of the map, especially if you have a reliable scaling tank top laner. Now, if the setup your bot lane provides is just absolutely horrid, say you got an Ezreal ADC and a Yuumi support, in that case, playing for top or mid can be better. But when you've got that Thresh, Blitz, Nautilus, or any support with decent setup, bot should be your focus in 13.10. Matchup-wise for Jarvan, not a whole lot you gotta worry about right now, but Kha'Zix is never a bad ban option with how much he's being played. Build path for fighters likely don't change a whole lot for 13.10, so a Gore Drinker Rush into Black Cleaver second and Death Stance third should still be the standard Jarvan core. As for the rune page, it's Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace, followed by Free Boots and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. One mid lane champion who should benefit drastically from the item changes this patch is Talon. Ghostblade being changed to a mythic item is absolutely insane for the champ, and will have Talon snowballing games faster than ever before. As soon as minions touch down in lane, it's go time with Talon, as you want to be playing for the level 2 jump. Hitting level 2 before the enemy and getting a nice chunk off can single-handedly change how the entire laning phase plays out. That one trade can lead to perma lane priority and the ability to eventually influence the rest of the map through your strong roam power. Matchups for Talon that you may want to consider banning include Pantheon and Uxin, as they do a good job at nullifying Talon's laning power. As for the core Talon build, we're thinking something along the lines of a Ghostblade Rush with Prowler second and Edge of Night third will work great. Take this with a grain of salt though, as finding the optimal builds will take a bit of experimenting throughout the patch. The rune page consists of First Strike with Free Boots, Dematerializer, and Cosmic Insight, followed by Nimbus Cloak and Absolute Focus. As if this champion needed buffs, Uxin is going to be a phenomenal solo carry in 13.10. Passive and Q now scale with ability power, which is a buff to enable more power towards the new Rageblade. Rageblade is now a mythic item and once again going to offer ability power, so if you were rushing Rageblade on Uxin, that AP won't be going to waste. Kraken Slayer is no longer a mythic item, so it's going to be between Rageblade, Gale Force, and possibly even Infinity Edge for Uxin's mythic. Rageblade likely comes out on top, but it's too early to say. A sample build to try consists of a Rageblade Rush with Blade of the Ruined King second and Wit's End third. Shoving and roaming is how you're going to be most consistently impactful with Uxin due to the stealth and mobility from his kit. One matchup you may want to consider banning when playing Uxin is Yasuo, as his Wind Wall can negate a lot of Uxin's damage. The rune page to run is Press the Attack with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace. Grab Shield Bash and Bone Plating for secondaries. Another mid laner we expect to thrive with the lethality item changes is Pantheon. Panth doesn't run Duskblade or Prowlers, so he won't be affected by those items. However, the Ghostblade changes can be huge for him. With Pantheon, a lot of the time, whether or not you win a fight comes down to if you can actually get in range to land W on your priority target. The active on Ghostblade helps to enable this and provide the enemy with very little counterplay once you have a lead. If the enemy does not have flash, you simply run them down with your superior move speed and they can't do anything about it. ADC items buff this patch will make ult plays even more valuable at level 6. Acquiring lane priority and looking for opportunities to impact bot lane is key to your success on Panth. Ahri is definitely one of the better value bans for Panth, as her mobility and charm do a good job at punishing Pantheon's lack of range. Build for Panth is going to be interesting because we see Eclipse and Ghostblade both being viable rush options. Ghostblade if you get an early kill in lane and are snowballing, with Eclipse being a good play otherwise. The rune page consists of Press the Attack with Triumph, Tenacity, and Coup de Grace. Best secondaries are Sudden Impact and Treasure Hunter. The ADC meta is going to see a big shakeup in 13.10, and one ADC who should come out on top is Jhin. Infinity Edge being changed to a mythic item is absolutely insane for Jhin. The fact you can rush IE and go into Rapid Fire Cannon second is going to give Jhin an incredibly strong 2-item spike. Now, the only downside to going Infinity Edge is that you actually can't build Gale Force, so it will be interesting to see if Gale and IE become rival items and are swapped out out depending on the situation. Nevertheless, that one item Infinity Edge spike is going to be nuts for Jhin, and we see him becoming a top tier ADC because of it. This is going to be a great win condition to play for in 13.10. If you're a tiny bit of gold off the IE completion, letting your team know and not forcing random fights before you've got it will be key. Side note, it will be interesting to see how Lethality Jhin turns out as well, with Ghost Blade being a mythic item. We expect there to be a multitude of viable Jhin builds at the start of the patch, so by 13.11, we should have a clearer picture of what is actually the best. Infinity Edge into Rapid Fire Cannon is likely a solid 2-item core for Jhin, and from then on out, with so many viable options, it will be very situational. For the rune page, it's Fleet with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Coup de Grace, followed by Celerity and Gathering Storm for secondaries. Another ADC who should also benefit immensely from Infinity Edge being a mythic item and our second solo carry selection is Draven. New Bloodthirster is looking really interesting as well, because instead of the passive shield, you'll now gain additional AD when above 50% health. In this case, Draven axes will be hitting like an absolute truck with the 2-item core of Infinity Edge and Bloodthirster. With Shield Bow being changed to a legendary item, we could see a 3-item core of Infinity Edge, BT, and Shield Bow being a nice build for Draven. It's tough to say though, because Essence Reaver is still a great item on Draven, and a core of Essence Reaver and Infinity Edge is not gone by any means. All in all, IE as a mythic should be a net win for Draven regardless of how the rest of his build pans out. Getting that passive cash in is always key to winning with Draven, so when you've got it heavily stacked up, pinging your team to play around you is important. Dying with Draven can be way more punishing than other ADCs, so warding and being aware of the state of mid lane is key. Ban-wise for Draven, Ezreal can be a more annoying matchup just due to the fact that he can max range farm with Q and not allow you to trade at all. For the rune page, it's Lethal Tempo with Triumph, Bloodline, and Coup de Grace. Eyeball Collection and Treasure Hunter are for secondaries. With Riot changing Rage Blade to a mythic item, it indirectly makes Kog'Maw an absolute monster of an ADC. The 2-item core of Blade of the Ruined King and Rage Blade will be one of the deadliest 2-item spikes for any ADC. Tanks like Ornn, Malphite, and Sion being played at very high rates up in the top lane provide Kog with even more power for the current meta. It will be interesting to see if Rage Blade slots in better as a first or second purchase on Kog, because in 13.9, both were viable options. It likely stays this way, with Rage Blade being prioritized more as a first pickup when heavily snowballing, and Blade prioritized in more difficult lanes where the added sustain is valuable. Best use of your ban when playing Kog is usually on a hard engaged meta champion like Jarvan or Hecarim, as heavy dive is the only thing that can shut Kog down. Rune page consists of Lethal Tempo with Triumph, Bloodline, and Last Stand. Conditioning and Overgrowth are the best secondaries. As if Melio wasn't broken enough, the power of ADCs increasing for 13.9 will make the champ even more valuable. Melio with any hyperscaling ADC like Kog'Maw, Jinx, or Vayne is going to be absolutely ridiculous. Ardent Sensor is becoming a bit cheaper as well, and even though it's losing some AP in exchange, having access to the Ardent passive sooner is massive for Melio, since it's so easy for him to proc. Win condition for Melio, and in general for most Enchanter supports, is to prioritize keeping your most fed carry alive. If your ADC is useless, don't spend your resources trying to save them or buff them up. Identify who will get best use out of your utility and use everything on them. If your mid laner is fed and they're pushing topside, don't go bot and play with your feeding top laner. Provide vision topside and hover for assistance. Blitz is a good ban to consider when playing Melio, as his instant catch with hook cannot be countered by Melio Q. The core build for Melio is Aurelia's Rush into Ardent Sensor second and Redemption third. Rune page revolves around Aerie with Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch, followed by Bone Plating and Revitalize for secondaries. With all these Enchanter item changes hitting the Rift in 13.10, the play rate of Enchanters are going to rise, and one champ who will benefit greatly from this is Blitzcrank. Blitz loves playing into these squishy Enchanters because that one hook in lane and everything from then on out is in your control. Blitz R negates all shields, so it provides him great all-in power at level 6. Side lane brush control is something you should be playing for in lane with Blitz. A Blitz in the Fog of War is 10 times more lethal than a Blitz just standing in lane, and the enemy has to respect it way more. To improve at this skill, our Master in Minutes course on laning as a support is a great resource to learn from. Matchup-wise, Rakan or Ezreal are good ban options for Blitz due to their ability to nullify your hook potential. Build consists of a Aurelia's Rush into Zeke second and Wardstone third. Pick up Glacial for the Keystone with Hex Flash, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight. Best secondaries are Bone Plating and Unflinching. To round out the top 3 for support for yet another patch is going to be Rakan. This champ has remained consistently strong for such a long time and is without question the best engaged support you can play. Much like Blitz, Rakan does a great job at punishing most low mobility squishy champions, so the fact Enchanter items are getting an overhaul and the archetype will be played more, Rakan will be in a great spot. Rakan is at his best when he can catch the enemy off guard before they even have time to react, so vision control and playing from fog is very key for the champ. If you're just running right at the enemy, your engage is quite telegraphed, and the enemy can just flash away, but when flanking or darting out from a brush, they have way less time to react. Melio or Janna are two of the better bans for Rakan, as their peel power shuts down a lot of what Rakan wants to do. The build is a Aurelia's Rush into Redemption second and Wardstone third. Grab Guardian for the Keystone with Font of Life, Bone Plating and Unflinching, followed by Zombie Ward and Ultimate Hunter for secondaries. And if you want to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted, then go to SkillCapped.com. With premium courses for every role and skill taught by the best players, SkillCapped is the perfect platform to help take your game to the next level. Take our Wave Control course. While you wait for your next game to start, you can learn freezing, fast pushing, slow pushing, bouncing waves, the list goes on, all in just a few minutes to maximize your improvement rate. Or maybe you just like seeing your opponent's health go to zero. Then you'll love our trading course. We even have a skill test at the end so you can see how good you really are. Players just like you are leaving 5-star reviews and raving at how helpful they are. That's not all we offer though, as every week we release 10 brand new Smurf commentaries where a challenger player teaches you how to climb out of the exact rank you're stuck in. If you're looking for something more personal instead, then we got you covered with one-on-one coaching from our trained challenger experts. All this seemed too good to be true? Well, don't worry, we're backed by a rank up guarantee. If you don't significantly improve while actively using SkillCapped, then you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below and get the rank you've always wanted. So that's going to wrap it all up for our latest update on the best solo carries for every single role. Thanks so much for watching, good luck in 13.10, and we'll see you back soon.